Hey everybody, it's Josh Doyle at Triple Threat Artist. Today I'm going to give you some of my favorite tips for songwriting and specifically collaborating with other co-writers. Uh, now, Triple Threat Artist, the Triple Threat Artist group is focused on helping songwriters and artists become their own producers and giving them the tools and helping them take their ideas from just an idea to a fully produced recording. So usually I don't spend a lot of time talking about songwriting because, they need help with the production elements. But for me, the production starts right at the beginning with the songwriting. So that's why I want to kind of give some helpful tips on things that have enabled me to bridge that gap from songwriter to producer. The very first tip that I'm going to give you is about writing to reference songs. So when a music supervisor says, we need a replacement for a Rolling Stones song, for instance, one great little trick that I've learned is when you're writing to a reference, try writing a song that is just a little bit faster and a little bit higher key than the reference song. If you can increase the tempo just a little bit more and maybe take the key just up a half step or a whole step, it'll give your song a more perceived energy than the reference song. It's just a little psychological trick that you can use to give your song a leg up on the competition. One thing that you want to make sure of, though, is that you're not doing that and hurting the song in the process. Meaning, if your singer can't sing a half step higher than the original, then don't sacrifice the vocal just in hopes that the half step is going to win you something. The same thing goes for the tempo. Don't bump up the tempo if your singer is struggling to get the words out and they're sounding drunk in the process. Changing the key and changing the tempo will also help separate your song from sounding too much like the original, which is a nightmare for music supervisors. If your song is the exact same key, the exact same tempo, and it's also influenced by that reference song, which it will be, it can really start to get into murky waters legally. Tip number 2 is going to be about this website called BRhymes. This is something I stumbled upon a while back, and it is one of my favorite go-to rhyming websites. Everybody knows about websites like RhymeZone, and there's a bunch of other ones. I actually tend not to use those just because they give you just the perfect rhymes, which most people can come up with on their own. BRhymes, I'm just going to read this little description of what the BRhymes website says. It says, BRhymes is a rhyming dictionary that's not stuck up about what does and does not rhyme. As well as regular rhymes, it gives you words that sound good together even though they don't technically rhyme, which I think is awesome. Like, for instance, I threw in the word house here, and the very first one is heist, which doesn't really rhyme at all, but it kind of has the same, ending S sound. You might find that you get frustrated looking through these. If you're looking for a rhyme for house, for example, like, you're not going to find a rhyme until you get down to, let's see, 64 is the first rhyme that I found for mouse. But here's the thing. If you're open and you're looking for solutions outside the box, this website is the place to go. You just have to be open to creative rhymes and not just looking for perfect rhymes all the time. The other thing that this is great for is finding near rhymes, and if you're not exactly thrilled about your original word in the first place. So, I put in the word house. House is just a boring old noun. But down here, this number 66 is the word south. House, south, that's a pretty cool close rhyme. it can lead to other ideas, and that's the way that I use this is finding non-perfect rhymes and other creative um, jumping off points. Tip number 3 is going to be one that everybody is just going to roll their eyes at because they probably already know about it and probably already use it, and that's Google Docs. The thing that I want to share about Google Docs is how I use it. Not only do I use it to write with my co-writers who are maybe not in the same room with me. It's great for long distance co-writes. But I actually use it when I'm in the same room with my co-writers. I think it is such a valuable tool to be able to have somebody sitting here on the couch and us both be writing our ideas on the same Google Doc, and for them to be seeing where my thought process is going and for me to be able to see where their thought process is going. So many times I've had them look at an idea that isn't really going anywhere for me. It's kind of a bad idea, but it sparks something for them. And to be honest, if I was just writing on a notepad or whatever and they were like, what ideas do you have? I probably wouldn't have shared it with them. I would have been like too insecure. I wouldn't have thought, I would have thought it was a horrible idea, not worth sharing. But there's been a lot of times where those bad ideas just spark a memory and they're like, oh, I know kind of where you're going with that. This is my connection to that bad idea, and it ends up going someplace much better. So the only trick with this is that you have to be comfortable sharing your bad ideas. You have to be open to letting them see everything. But I think it results in much better songwriting when you can do that. The other thing that I use Google Docs for is making production notes. And this ties back to what I was saying at the very beginning, where when I'm songwriting, I'm already thinking about what the production is going to be. And I make notes as we're songwriting to help keep the song from going off the rails. It's really, really easy to have a good idea and let it derail the song. Like if you want to write a Rolling Stones song, for example, you might come up with an idea that is really good, but it's something that the Rolling Stones would never do, and it's going to derail the song, and you're going to get frustrated when it comes time to produce it later. And you're going to be like, why did this song not turn out like a Rolling Stones song? It's because you didn't keep it on track. So I make my production notes as I'm going. I also write down the references for the song. This is just good. These are just, again, reminders. Like, for this song that I'm showing you here that we did, Brian Setzer and the Christmas song, Baby It's Cold Outside, were the two references. And it's good to have those, like, staring you back in the face the whole time. And it's also good if, like, 3 years goes down the road and you're like, man, what were the references for that song that we did? A music supervisor might want to know, or it might be good for metadata when you're tagging the song later if you didn't do it right away. It's good to write those references down. I also write down the key and the BPM and the chords. Those are valuable. This is like a great place to archive this important information for the song. The chords, I document those here also because there's been a lot of times where my co-writer, who might be an artist, says, hey, I want to play that Christmas song for a gig I've got coming up next month. What were the chords to that song? And instead of having to like pull it up and like figure it out or have them figure it out, it's just so much easier to be like, oh, it's in the Google Doc. I notated it there. Go look them up, The other thing that I use Google Docs for is, well, let me go back. This is where, so I co-wrote this with my co-writer, Ashley, and we made a section where she writes down all of her ideas right here. And then below that are all of my ideas. And we can be writing those out at the exact same time and seeing each other. It shows up on her screen at the exact same time. The other cool thing that I like about this is that we can write notes to each other. So after, our in-person or live writing session is done, we can be making notes to each other on different lines and things like that. So this one is highlighted yellow, and you can see my notes and her notes, suggestions about maybe how we could change certain lines or improve on certain things. So I hope you enjoyed these little tips on how I use Google Docs and BRhymes and how I think about songwriting and production at the same time.